Elevated cortisol, stress, and sleep issues are a major concern with millions of Americans today in the world. So I brought Dr. Ingo Mahn over here to talk about his specialty. I've been working with him for the last month. I have an appliance for my maxilla to spread out the top of my jaw, which opens up the bottom of my nasal cavities. So Dr. Mahn, can you tell us what you're seeing in your practice and your specialty?
So we see a lot of people that come to us with all kinds of health issues, especially chronic ones that they've been battling for years. And it's really interesting because everybody, talks about sleep, but everybody thinks of sleep apnea, which is kind of like the end of the road.
Snoring.
But stopping breathing for more than 10 seconds.
Mouth breathing.
Mouth breathing is horrible. So one of the things that happens is our bodies try to prevent us from becoming sleep apnea patients. And in that process, we kind of go into this fight or flight. So as soon as your body says, I'm not getting enough oxygen, it's not going to be relaxed and recovering and regenerating. So that's what happens all night long. It's literally people are being waterboarded by their own tongues. That's what obstructive sleep apnea is. And that's what kind of is on that spectrum to becoming a full sleep apnea patient. So that's what raises those cortisol levels.
So waterboarding by their own tongue, so they're choking
Exactly.
on their own tongue.
Yeah, and when that happens all night, you're not going into that good regenerative sleep. So you might be kind of bouncing in that light sleep, but you're not getting into the deep sleep, you're not getting into the REM sleep. So you wake up feeling exhausted, you feel like you don't have energy, you might be getting up to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a night. That's a sign of not getting deep sleep.
Can you talk about the hormonal implications and how that triggers your hormones?
Every time you have an event where your airway starts to close up, you basically have this respiratory disturbance. It's like a little miniature burst of adrenaline. And so when you have these little respiratory disturbances all night, that's what increases that cortisol and throws off your whole system.
So mouth tape is all the rage. Dr. Mahn, what do you have to say about that?
Well, mouth breathing is horrible for your health. There was actually an Indian tribe, they would sit next to their baby's bed and pinch the mouth shut because they called all the air going into the mouth toxic air. And so nasal breathing is really important because you warm and humidify the air, and more importantly, you produce something called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator, so it expands all the capillaries so the blood can go where it needs to go, and it actually triggers your oxygen to be released from the blood into the cells.
What is it that you do in your practice?
So I spent years looking for a solution. I knew there was a problem with sleeping and sleep disordered breathing, but everything I studied was a Band-Aid solution, pull the jaw forward, which really can be effective, but it really messes up your jaws, creates TMJ pain, causes your bite to be off. So I finally found these appliances that are called epigenetic appliances that help remodel the upper jaw and also tone the muscles of the airway. So that's really the biggie, is it's about the collapsibility of that airway. That's why we clench and grind. So if you're clenching and grinding, or you look at your teeth and they're all worn down, chances are is that's what's been going on at night. And so our appliances tone those muscles of the airway, and most importantly, they downregulate your autonomic nervous system, which gets you out of that fight or flight.
So the grinding is a hormonal response?
The grinding is this rhythmic muscle activity. So as the airway starts to close up, your body triggers these muscles of the jaw and of the neck to contract to try to keep that airway open. And now we're finding that that's a majority. There's other factors, but a majority of the grinding is due to people trying to keep their airway from collapsing.
And what are the results that your patients are getting from the maxilla appliance?
I was pretty much blown away myself when I saw the results we were getting, because initially I was very excited about the fact that we could just remodel and change the shape of the upper jaw. And I was actually surprised when people came back 2 weeks into treatment with their appliance saying, this thing has changed my life. You're like, you're not taking my appliance from me, are you? I'm like, no, we're not. And they say, we love it because I'm already feeling like I'm sleeping better, I'm staying asleep through the night, and I'm just waking up feeling more refreshed.
Yeah, my dreams, I woke up early this morning for this shoot, and my dreams are getting much more vivid. And I love the way my teeth fit inside of my mouth, because depending on how much caffeine I drink, I can grind my jaw, and how well I sleep as well. And so I've been using the nose tape as well as my appliance, and I feel much better. And I'm only a month into the program.
The REM sleep, it's interesting because a lot of our patients share that same story, that they hadn't even realized that they hadn't been dreaming as much until they got the appliance. And that's another indicator now to me that that they're getting into REM sleep. Just like the getting up to urinate is a good indicator of are you getting into deep sleep, people not dreaming tells me that they're not getting good REM sleep.
So can you talk a little bit about waking up to urinate and the hormones and the stress response?
Yeah, so as we go into deep sleep, our bodies are designed not to produce urine. So once you get into deep sleep, your body actually produces something called antidiuretic hormone. And that's designed, even if you're drinking water, you know, everybody says, well, I get up because I have a glass of water next to my bed. Well, even if you're drinking water consistently, once you start getting into deep sleep and producing antidiuretic hormone, you're not producing urine. So the fact that you're getting up to go to the bathroom tells me you're not achieving that deep sleep level that you should be.
Awesome. Okay, so these are my appliances. This is my nighttime appliance. It took a minute to get used to it. It's not that I can't sleep without it, it's just that it makes me feel so comfortable. And then I have this one for the daytime. Actually, the blocks are on the opposite. And I really feel the comfort of my jaw. I feel that my bones are going in the proper position. And how many months does this take to kind of come to fruition completely?
The length of treatment varies from patient to patient. The nice thing about these appliances, they're orthopedic appliances. They're not orthodontic appliances where you're turning that key and creating expansion. The appliance literally just replaces the hard food in the diet, and it makes it a signaling appliance, and it signals the body to express the DNA more optimally and change that way. So when you turn that key once a month or so, you're really keeping up with what the appliance is creating and what the changes your body is making. And you'll get to the point where you turn that key and you'll put it back in and it'll feel tight. And then that's basically how you know you're done. So we're letting the body decide where it needs to be and when it's done. And I like the idea of our bodies because I think our bodies know better where things need to be than orthodontists or doctors.
Super intelligent we are. You talked about this activating stem cells. How does it do that?
Well, the appliance, there's a little gap underneath there, and every time you bite on that block, you're flexing the appliance, and there are little springs. If you look at the little T-springs, they go on the back of the teeth, and our bodies are designed to respond to cyclical motions. Our body doesn't like the kind of forces we put on them with braces. They respond to chewing, breathing. When you're walking, everything is creating these cyclical inputs that our bodies respond to.
Okay, awesome. You're awesome. Thank you so much.